Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the 143. Nick, it's a big episode today, episode 75.
Wow, we are inching ever so closer to the 100 mark. It's crazy to think that we're only 25 away, 75 in.
75
Wow, it
straight
does
weeks
not
of
feel
doing
like it's
this.
been that long. That is pretty crazy. 75 weeks in a row. I'm
It's
pretty proud of that.
dedication. It's dedication. And to start off this big monumental episode, I'm going to just talk about real quick that the Rangers tonight against the White Sox got absolutely cheesed by the umps on a call at home plate. Elvis Andrus, former Texas Ranger, never really did us much good. Coming in to home, our guys threw him out at the plate. It was tied at that point. He would have given them the winning run there. Got called out, and then they reviewed it and said there was catcher interference and reversed it. There was no catcher interference, in my opinion. Nick, was there any on yours?
Pretty bogus call. And first off, I do think Elvis Andrus did a lot for the Rangers. I just want to put that out there. You know,
Well, I
he's
kind of
always
don't
going to
like
be
him right now.
number one in my heart. But so obviously Elvis Andrus was on second, and can't remember who it was batting, but he shoots a bloop single into left field, and Travis Jankowski gets a good read on it, good jump on the ball, gets up on it, makes a nice throw to home, and beats Elvis Andrus by about, I don't know, 2 or 3 feet. And obviously he gets tagged out, but then they protest it and say that Jonah Heim was in the way. And really what was only kind of sort of almost in the way was his foot was standing on kind of the tip of home plate, but it didn't interfere with Elvis Andrus sliding. He came in head first and his hand was able to get to the plate, no problem. I mean, and also Jonah, he kind of had to position himself like that so he could receive the throw and place the tag. So it's not like he was just trying to stand in front of the plate, which he wasn't. I thought it was a horrible call, but whatever. And
They
the other thing
immediately
is,
ejected Bruce Bochy as well.
there's been this kind of narrative of umps going on power trips and
Yep.
taking control of games, and it's been frustrating a lot of people. And I think this is one of those prime examples of an ump power trip, just going in, reversing the call, and then ejecting Bruce Bochy, who's just trying to understand what's going on. Obviously, there's going to be frustration there, but I thought it was horrible.
It was ridiculous. Actually spoke to my mom, and she was actually pretty upset about it tonight. That just shows you the seriousness of the bogusness of that call.
Well, the other thing is
Rangers fans were not happy.
that's a game-changing call.
Yep,
It's not like
that
we
was
were
the winning
ahead
run.
by 7 and that cut the lead down to 6. No, the game was tied, and that gave them the lead and ultimately the win because the score did not change after that.
Just frustrating. Obviously, 1 out of 162, so hopefully it won't really hurt us that much. But frustrating, tough loss tonight. We'll bounce back tomorrow though, against the White Sox again. So today we've got a NFL overhyped episode for y'all, talking about some overhyped teams this offseason. A couple of teams been getting a lot of hype that I don't think Nick and I really approve of. So we're just going to jump into that. I'm actually going to start us off, Nick, with a stat about an overhyped player, okay? And me and you talk about this guy a lot. We're not the biggest fans, but let me give you this stat. Patrick Mahomes' playoff record, okay? In the playoffs, Patrick Mahomes is 11-3. That's a pretty good record, right?
I mean, that's pretty incredible if you ask me.
Okay, Aaron Rodgers' playoff record, 11-10. Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers have the exact same number of wins in the playoffs. And Aaron Rodgers has been playing for way longer than Patrick Mahomes. But we all like to say that Aaron Rodgers is like a top 2 QB in the NFL.
I mean, what is that? Seven more playoff games than
7 more games
than Patrick Mahomes. You said 11-10
Yep.
versus 11-3. So yeah, 7 more games, which is kind of crazy because obviously Aaron is an old guy, and you think of Patty Mahomes as being super duper young, but already has 2 rings under his
two of those
belt.
playoffs were rings.
I mean, if you ask me, I'm taking Patrick Mahomes over
You
Aaron
you want to
Rodgers.
talk
I
about
think that's a
overhyped?
easy, easy pick.
You want to talk about overhyped? A guy that's been in the league since like '03 versus a guy that's been in the league since like 20, what was it, like 2017 or 2018? They've got the same amount of playoff wins, and you want to compare those two. People try to do that all the time. I'm sorry, guys. Aaron Rodgers is not like that. He is he's just a
I mean,
normal. I mean, he's got talent in the regular season, but when it comes to playoffs, he's not clutch. So let's stop acting
not
like he is.
clutch at all. And we could dive into that more here in a second, but in light of the beginning of our episodes, I brought you a player of the week. We talked a little bit about baseball earlier, but I think this player needs to get some recognition. What he's been doing this season is kind of something that we haven't seen done in at least a decade, if you ask me. He's going on, I think some would say, MVP type of run, possibly. And that's Luis Ariz. Okay,
Mm,
he is the second baseman for the Miami Marlins,
out of nowhere.
batting a whopping 398,
Yep.
just a hair under 400, while he only has 2 home runs and 35 RBIs. And he has an OPS of 934. But the big thing is that batting average. I mean, that's crazy. He's getting on base almost. He's basically batting 400. I mean, you could say he's batting 400. That's ridiculous. That's like something we haven't seen since guys like, Tony Gwynn way a long time ago, and then guys recently like Ichiro Suzuki. And he's kind of been, I would say, going unnoticed just because the MLB today has been so home run focused that it's like it kind of almost ignores most other hitting stats other than home runs that guys
He's
like,
also on the Marlins. The
yeah,
Marlins don't get that much
exactly. Like
attention.
guys like Arise don't really get as much
Yeah.
attention, but that ends today. The Under Review podcast is giving him some love and affection. So
Yeah, it's a
congratulations.
big deal. It's a big deal. We're pretty far into the season, and he's been back and forth like over 100 or 400, and
And
that's
that
pretty
was about to
crazy.
say, this is a legit 400. We're near the end of June. So this is legit 400 batting
Mhm.
average.
All right. Well, let's kick it off with our stuff that we're talking about today. I'll go ahead and throw it out there. We'll dive into this. So, was watching the Herd, Colin Cowherd, very popular talk show host, and very popular podcast. He has the Jacksonville Jaguars as number one this season in the AFC. Nick, are the Jags the best team in the AFC?
We talked about this a little bit earlier. It's ridiculous. I mean, they had a a good a
Decent season?
decent, I'll say a decent season last year.
Weren't they like 10-7?
Yeah, made it into the playoffs. Had
Won
a
a game.
pretty, I will say, pretty great comeback win, but it was against a weak Chargers defense and a weak, I mean, not weak Chargers offense, but they just really hadn't proved themselves. Lots of young guys who did not have playoff experience. But I mean, I realize it's so easy to say Chiefs number one in the AFC, but it's like who can stop them right now? Who's
Exactly.
been able to stop them? No one. I mean, Patrick, we've talked about this a bajillion times. Patrick Mahomes proved that he does not need a star wide receiver to be successful. I mean, he had Travis Kelce, best tight end in the league, and a bunch of no names at wide receiver, and he won a Super Bowl.
Okay.
So I don't think you can put them behind the Chiefs.
I don't think you can even put him number two. Other
I was
than
gonna say,
Juju
I think,
Smith-Schuster,
yeah,
who did the Chiefs lose in the offseason? They had 9 rookies last year when they won the Super Bowl. Guess what? Those 9 rookies are now older and smarter and more experienced, but they didn't leave. So like the Chiefs stayed the same.
the other thing too is I think for the next like I don't even know. I'll just say 5 years because that seems like a safe number. I think it's going to be battled out. The AFC is going to be battled out between the Joe Burrow led Bengals and the Mahomes led Chiefs. I think those are
Yeah.
going to be the majority
And the
of
Bills aren't going anywhere.
your AFC contenders. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, if anything, like the Dolphins got better. The Jets have the Jets have Aaron Rodgers. We're going to talk about that. I mean, I don't know. They've been hyped up a lot, but at the same time, they got a piece that they've been missing. Other than that, they had it all last season. There's just a lot of AFC teams that they're gonna have to contend with. The Jags are not. They're in the weakest division in football right now.
I mean, they
I mean,
kind of
schedule's easy.
they didn't really get better, and also like you said, I think they might go to the playoffs again this year, but that's only gonna be because they're in a horrible division.
They probably will win their division this year and go to the playoffs.
Yeah,
But yeah, that doesn't say
absolutely,
much.
absolutely.
Definitely overhyped. I don't know. Colin Cowherd, he's said some pretty outlandish stuff time to time. That's his job. That's how he gets more views. But I would say that one is definitely an overhyped team because they're not bad, but they haven't shown any kind of winning the Super Bowl or winning the AFC potential.
I mean, Trevor Lawrence had not even one good season, one good back
Yep.
half of a season, and everyone wants to put him in the conversation like he's a top 10, top 5 QB. And it's like, I mean, well, I'm ready to talk about that after next season when I see him perform well for an entire
Mm-hmm.
season, but he had half of a good season, and people are just blowing this way out of proportion.
Yep. Well, you got a team that's overhyped.
I mean, we talked about this a little bit before. I think the Detroit Lions. Um,
Oh yes.
I I don't really see anyone in that division beating the Vikings. I think the Vikings will have a very
Dude, but everyone's got the
similar
Lions
run
winning it.
that they had last year. I understand that, but it just does not make
It's
sense to
so
me
weird.
because they still have Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, a solid defense, and a solid O line. And look, I understand Kirk Cousins gets ripped on, but he's not
Not
that
bad.
bad of a quarterback. I think he's
Dude,
serviceable. He's pretty solid.
Kirk Cousins or Jared Goff, it's not even close. Everyone you're taking Kirk Cousins. And the Lions, they got overhyped so much that their game one, opening night, it's not Chiefs Eagles like it normally is, like a Super Bowl rematch. It's Chiefs Lions.
And that's not even going to be fun to watch. I mean,
No. I mean, it'll be fun to watch because it's the first game of the season, but
yeah,
it's not going to
but
be competitive.
the Chiefs are going to destroy them. I mean,
It's at
I don't
Arrowhead. Yeah, it's
see.
not. Jared Goff is
Oh,
not
but
good on the road.
you're forgetting they're getting Jameson Williams back, or he's going to be back in like never before the season. That's the other thing is, look, we haven't even seen this guy really play in the NFL,
Hmm.
so they're acting like he's going to come in and just be the best around, and it's like I don't believe I'm not buying into the hype.
I'm not either. The Detroit Lions seem overhyped to me. Obviously, anything could happen in the NFL season, but these are teams that are just getting a lot of hype. And moving on from that, we've talked about this team a lot, so we probably won't stay on them for long. But the Baltimore Ravens, guys, Lamar Jackson is still Lamar Jackson, even though he's got money. Odell Beckham, I'm sorry, he hasn't played a season in 3 years. And he hasn't had a successful season since his rookie season in the NFL. Overhyped Baltimore Ravens, 100%. They did not improve what they needed to
I
improve
mean,
at all.
the two guys that are getting a lot of attention right now in the Ravens, like you said, Lamar and Odell, those are two injury prone guys. So those are guys that are, it's
Yep.
questionable on whether
Their
they can last every single game of the season.
their top 7 players, other than Mark Andrews, who actually did get hurt last year, are very injury prone. That's defensive and offensive. They're big playmakers. They are very injury prone. The Ravens are an injury prone
That's
team.
true. I forgot about J.K. Dobbins as well. Yeah, they're a hospital up there. I don't even know
Hmm.
what's going on. No one can stay healthy in Baltimore.
Very, very overhyped in Baltimore. Obviously, Odell Beckham is old. Lamar Jackson is getting hurt all the time. So I'm gonna say they're definitely overhyped.
Another thing is, I think that the Baker Mayfield move to
Tampa.
down to Tampa Bay, I think that's getting overhyped just a smidge
Yeah, that's
as
not going
well.
anywhere.
Guys, let's remember this is still the same Baker that was a backup, or I mean, he he was kind of a backup, kind of not really. And for the Rams, he came in and didn't really do too much. Did not have that great of
Their
a
season was
stint
over at that point.
there in
Yeah.
Cleveland, and so I'm tired of hearing the Baker Mayfield hype. And obviously, I don't really like him that much. He's an OU Texas Tech boy from college, so I already didn't like going into him. His attitude just does not vibe with me at
Yeah.
all. he is not a great locker room presence. He doesn't bring the team up around him. Not a leader. Not a team guy.
I would say so. I'm gonna probably our last one. I'm gonna say that this team's not overhyped yet, but after this season, depending on what happens, is basically they're in danger of becoming one of those overhyped teams. Okay, Justin Herbert and the Chargers are very in a very serious position this season to get the job done because they won 10 games last season and they did not beat a notable quarterback in those 10 games. Okay, they beat a lot of losing teams, but when you would watch those primetime games they were on, there was like 3 times that the ball would be placed in Herbert's hands with a minute, 2 minutes left, and his job was to go down and score. He threw a pick 2 of those times. He turned it over the third time. I think Justin Herbert is going to need to make a statement this season, or he will be in the overhyped conversation. A lot of talent, but he's not been clutch.
I agree. Obviously, the 2 games immediately that come to mind are the 49ers and Chiefs game.
Yep.
And those were the 2 interceptions that you were talking about. You know, he had the ball in his hands, chance to go down, score, game-winning drive, and he ended up choking. But I think the Chargers could do some real damage. They've had the weapons for a while. The one thing that's kind of gotten to them, though, is injuries. You know, they've had guys constantly injured on both sides of the ball. And I think if everyone could stay healthy, they could do some serious damage.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. This season, I think it's make or break for them just to see if he is the real deal or not. Not that they're going to move off of him after the season, but last couple seasons, he's had some chances.
And we've seen that he's talented. It's still that raw talent. You know, we'll see those spurts of him chunking the ball 75 yards down the field, and you're like, how on earth can this kid throw it that far? He's absolutely ridiculous. Arm talent and arm strength, but I still feel like it's a little rough around the edges.
Agreed.
So, usually like to end our show on Under Review. I brought to you a quote from the Bart Starr. He said, "Anyone can support a team that is winning. It takes no courage. But to stand behind a team, to defend a team when it is down and really needs you, that takes a lot of courage."
Amen. That's a good quote. Thank y'all for listening this week to our 75th episode. We will keep them rolling, keep them coming for y'all guys, and we'll see you next week here on Under Review.